happy Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for being here. I figure lots of you are probably enjoying the sunshine and enjoying the fact that lots of businesses are open. But maybe I'll catch you throughout the week, if not later on today. All right, so I'm Michelle, if you do not know, and prompts that we'll need today, if you have them for Sunday stretch, are going to be a stretchy TheraBand. It doesn't matter what color. If you don't have one and you want to grab like, I don't know, a dog leash or some sort of yoga strap or like a scarf works. But if you have something that's stretchy, that'd be preferable. And if you don't have anything like that, no big deal as well. And then we'll spend the last couple minutes, I'm trying to save time for it, to do a little fascial massage for our faces. So I know some of you have therapy balls. If you want to grab them and have them nearby, I'll give you an option to use with them. But we can also do it with our hands as well. But I just know that some of you geek out because you have them. But anyways, we're actually going to start standing. So have your strap nearby. And when you're ready, just come to your mat area. And if you're not using a mat, no big deal. And maybe allow your eyelids to close if that feels okay in your body. And find just a comfortable stance with your feet. So if it feels a little more solid for you to be a little wider than hips distance, maybe you do that. I just want you to take these first few moments of class to feel the sensation of foundation, of support, of rootedness into not only your mat, but the floor and the earth beneath you. And maybe that deep connection allows you to feel a little more secure in your body, a little safer and more supported. All right, if you've been joining me in classes or following along, I've been doing these self-regulation trainings, and a lot of it has really been focused on slowing down and tuning back in. So maybe if you take anything from this class today, it's just this sensation of standing on your 2 feet. And as you take these last few moments to stand, might you just notice any natural inclinations that come along for the ride? Did you naturally sway from side to side? Maybe that just feels comforting in your body, right? Having a little bit of movement here. And maybe for some of you, it feels a little more solid to stand still. So just kind of notice that. Anything else that kind of your body naturally wants to do to feel more supported. And then just start to take your attention to your breath, right? And notice the natural inclinations for your breath. You might find that once you're kind of listening to your body that you just start to take louder and maybe longer exhales, right? There's this sensation of sigh, right? Your body, your nervous system's natural way of kind of just letting go. So notice if that happens and know that it's okay if it doesn't. And we'll just take one more natural breath, big inhale breath, and exhale, just kind of let it go. Okay, and then heel to your feet. I'm trying to think how I want to do this today. Let's heel to our feet right under our hip joints, which is a little more narrow than our actual width of our hips, right? So think where the femur bone connects to your hip joint. And then find your strap if you do have one. If not, no biggie. And you might find again that once we start moving through this, you want to adjust your feet, totally cool with me. Whether you have a strap or something like this, I want you just to start by reaching the strap so it's wider than the width of your body. So wider than your hips, wider than your shoulders, and it's a little bit taut. So you're not stretching it out if it's something stretchy, but it's a little bit taut. And I just want you to take a big inhale breath as you reach the arm bones just up and overhead. And then exhale, release them on down, right? So it's not loose, but I definitely have just a little bit of traction as I start to wake up my shoulder blades. I'm seeing if my rib cage can lengthen back towards my sacrum, right towards the back of my pelvis as I reach through my arms, right? And what we mean by that is, as opposed to, right, taking my ribs along for the ride, I'm just asking your shoulders to move a little bit. Yeah. Maybe you're connecting that natural breath. Cool, and then you might find, for me, I know that I like to heel toe my feet a little wider for the next part of this. Take an inhale, reach your arms up and overhead. Take a little side bend to your right, or mimic me, you know. You think by now I'd figure it out, but I haven't. Take a little side bend, and then start to bend your knees and round your spine so much as you make a big circle forward, over to the left, and bring it back on upright. So we've done lots of different variations of this movement, and I think the band adds a little bit of traction and of feedback, right? So bend in the knees. We're gonna do the same side again. Side bend, round the spine as you round forward, and bring it back on up. Last one on this same side, just kind of noticing how when you repeat sides, you might be able to really feel the change and the shift and the openness in the side of your body. Yeah, and we'll do 3 to the left, right? So my arms are reaching up and overhead, and if your arms are starting to get fatigued, you're also more than welcome to ditch the strap, but hopefully this just allows for a little more circulation, right? You're able to start feeling the blood flow all the way through your fingertips as you move your spine. Last one. All right, meet me back up, standing nice and tall. This time, bend your elbows, and I'm gonna pivot back so you can see the back of my body. Bend your elbows into a goal post as the strap comes down behind your head. And then take an inhale breath to reach the arm bones up towards the ceiling. And do it again, elbows bent. Inhale, arm bones reach up. And then maybe if it's available for you today, you're gonna talk to your shoulders a little bit and see if they can chill out and relax from your ears. But if that doesn't happen, no big deal. Last one, big inhale breath. Exhale, lower it down. Just give yourself a moment, shake out any heat that you might have created in your shoulders. And we're gonna move into a little shoulder flossing sequence, which is my favorite thing to do. Arm bones reach up and overhead. That's your big inhale breath. And you might need to broaden your arms a lot to reach the arms back behind you towards your low back, right? So the strap touches your low back. It reaches up and overhead and forward. So what I'm trying to do is not really stretch it, but rather use the range of motion that I have available to me in my shoulders to reach it forward and back. And as you start to build more range, you might be able to tighten it a little bit more. But just kind of notice where you're at, where you need to tighten it up, and then when you need to loosen it up. A couple more of those. What's going on with your rib cage? What's going on with your feet? Can they still stay grounded into that solid base underneath you, as if your feet were melting into wet sand? Last one, big inhale breath. Exhale, arms reach behind you. Okay, arm bones reach forward. Shake it out. Ditch that strap for a little bit. Heel toe your feet back under your hip joint, so slightly closer than hips distance apart. Take an inhale breath, sweep your arms up and overhead. Soften your knees, nod your chin in towards your chest. This is your roll down. Wind your spine down. Think upper spine unwinding. Mid back, low back, and the hips and your knees bend ever so slightly as maybe your hands come towards the earth. And then take your next big exhale breath. Feel that scoop from your belly and your pelvis as you start to restack the spine. Arm bones reach up and overhead. We're just gonna do 2 more of those. Take them at your own time. Nod your chin in towards your chest. I like to imagine that I'm peeling my back off the wall behind me. So it's first my upper back that peels away, my mid back, and my low back. I pause at the bottom, and then I'm resetting my low back to touch the wall behind me, and then my mid back, and then my shoulders and my arm bones reach up and overhead. Last one. Soften the knees, right? Enjoy that traction. And give yourself that support. And slowly wind all the way on up. We're going to do one more just to make our way down to the ground. Cool. Pause here. I'm going to pivot so that I'm at the back of my mat. And then from here, with a generous bend in your knees, start to walk your hands forwards. You're in a plank just for a sec. Feel your shoulders, right? Your arm bones absorb into your shoulder socket and feel really supported. Lengthen through the crown of your head. And then shift your hips back to a downward facing dog. Give yourself a moment. I know for some of you, this is not a comfortable pose. So feel free to bend your knees a lot or widen the stance of your feet if that feels more supportive. Really root into your palms. Feel this sensation of starfish as your palms and your knuckles press into the ground even more. And then take an inhale breath, bend your knees, lower them down, take your hips back to a child's pose. Press into your hands a lot, drive forward back to that hands and knees position, tuck your toes, take your hips back to a downward facing dog. We're just doing a couple of those to wake up the back of our legs. Bend your knees, lower down, hands and knees, shift your hips back. Root into your palms so much you drive yourself back to hands and knees, tuck your toes. Last one here, friends, and then we will revisit that downward facing dog, but hopefully your shoulders are a little more supportive and your hips are a little more open. Find your way to that downward facing dog when you get there, and again, adjust as necessary, so widen the stance or anything that you need to do. And you're gonna reach your left leg long. So think three-legged dog from my yogis in the house. My foot is flexed, my toes are pointing down, I'm reaching out through my heel. Trying to see how long I can make my floating leg. And then I'm gonna start to turn my toes out towards the left as I stack my hips. So now my left hip is stacked on top of my right. Feel free to take a look if you are unclear of what that means. And then whether your knee is bent, you're just gonna start to take these hip circles. I tend to like to do it with a bent knee, but you can do it with a straight leg as well. So I'm just making circles. I'm on a hike today, so my hips are particularly tight, so they might not be very big circles to start, and then switch directions, right? But can I feel my hip and my femur bone working together? The last one, leg reaches long, reset your three-legged dog, and then plant that leg on the ground, walk it out for a sec, and we're just gonna switch sides. Right leg reaches long, take that time to lengthen through your floating leg, right? Feel the heel kick out towards the room. Your toes are turned down, your hips are squared. Reach and activate your thigh bone even more, and then start to fan your toes out. And then stack your right hip. And then if you liked those hip circles, go for it. Right, take breaks if you need to, if this is aggressive. I know it can be a big ask to stand on your hands, switch directions. So know that you can always back off if you need to. Oof. Last one. Okay, reach that leg back to your three-legged dog. Float it on down. Both feet are next to each other, root into your hands. And again, take a break if you need to. And then listen to this, because this is a subtle variation today that we'll be kind of playing with throughout class. So whether your heels are touching the ground or not, I just want you to find like a micro bend in your knees. Think of like an inch bend, and feel free to look if that doesn't make sense. And then I'm just gonna straighten the legs because my thigh bones lengthen back towards my hamstrings. So I soften the knees and the hips, and then I use a little bit of power and force through my muscles as opposed to my joints to floss the fascia in my legs. You know I love fascia, last two. Right, it's small. Okay, bend your knees a lot, lower down to a child's pose. Take your hands next to your feet.
and let that blood and that heat recirculate out of your arm bones and back down towards your hips. And we'll find our way onto our bellies when you get there. I'm just gonna scoot this mat so you guys can see me. Okay. Find your way onto your belly. And when you get there, we're gonna do things a little differently today. My legs are just kind of relaxed. They might be a little wider than hips distance. Interlace your fingertips and place them to the nape of your neck. And let your forehead really rest down on the ground, and see if you can use your hands just to create a little bit of traction in the back of your neck. Right, as if you had like a Pilates teacher that was coming up and lengthening the back of your neck and the back of your ears. Okay, with my hands still interlaced and I'm applying just a little bit of weight onto my skull, I'm going to start to open and lift my left elbow. As I open the left chest, right, I'm kind of saying hello as I turn and open my chest out to the left. And then I lower everything back down. We're going to do 3 more to the left. So can I find a little rotation in my thoracic spine, right, my rib cage, that sometimes is really difficult and maybe not accessible. But we need it, right? But you're spending still lots of time hunched over your computer. You need it. And then switch directions. Or maybe you find that you have to turn around in the car and, ask your kids to do something. Or maybe, hopefully, not tell them not to do something. And you find that that's a little bit straining. Maybe this helps create a little bit of momentum so that that range of movement becomes a little more accessible. Last one. Slowly lower on down, and then can you now just lift up the head through center and a little bit of the chest, and kind of allow the elbows to get heavy towards the side of your body and find a little more length through the back of the neck. You're only lifting up to the degree where you can maintain. And exhale, lower on down. Last one here, and then I'm going to ask you to move your legs. Lift up, that's your inhale breath. Feel your forehead and your nose and your chest. And then exhale, can you slowly unwind that? And then you can release your arms. I kind of like to take my elbows into a goalpost position, but do whatever feels best for you. And then when you're ready, take your feet a little closer to hip alignment if that feels available. If they feel better to stay wide, go for it. Lift your left leg a couple inches up off the ground. And I think we might have done this last week, but the weeks I'm forgetting. Okay. And from here, I just want you to find a little, like a little massage for your hip joint. The leg is lifted, the thighs up off the ground. Can you turn your toes out to the right, external rotation? And then can you turn your toes in towards the midline, internal rotation? Right, so I'm just massaging my hip joint, my thigh spirals around. How many different ways can I find a little more hydration, a little more stimulation in my hip socket? Last one. And release it down, and then lift your left leg. Maybe adjust your hands if necessary. External rotation, my whole entire thigh spirals out. My whole entire thigh spirals in. So I might visually see it happening from my toes, but I'm asking it from my hip socket, right? External rotation means the center seam of my pants is trying to spiralize down and out now. And then internal rotation means the center seam of my pants is trying to spiralize in and up. Last one. Come on out of it. Give your hips a couple wiggles and shift your hips back to a child's pose. I will meet you there when you get there. Shift your hips back. Arms can be forward. Arms can be alongside your legs, you choose. Start to massage your forehead to the right and to the left. Feel the sensation of tug and pull ever so slightly on all those tight, tense muscles near your third eye. And then reach your arms forward alongside your ears if they're not already there. Start to walk your hands over towards the right. If it feels available to you, you might stack the left hand on top of the right. Think of this sensation of length as your left hip lengthens down and away from the rib cage. Breathe into your belly. And then start to walk your hands in the other direction. They walk towards the left, maybe the right hand stacks. But as you are human, if this side has different stuff in mind, honor it. Couple breaths here. Think of your right hip lengthening down and back and away from the waistline. Maybe the head is able to get a little heavier. All right, walk your hands back to center, slither back onto your belly. Take your arms out into a T, palms are down on the ground. Widen the stance of your feet a little bit. Lift your right thigh up again. This time bend the knee so the foot is flexed. And just like we did when we were in that three-legged dog, can you stack your right hip? Can you peel your right hip up off the ground so that your hips stack, right? Your right hip is floating on top of the left, and I'm just winding, I'm just twisting through my hips. My hands are still on the ground, and I'm reaching my right toes towards the left side of my body. Feel free to take a look if that's confusing. And I'm just going to take a breath in this reverse twist, right? I'm just asking my pelvis to twist backwards. And then really slowly I'm going to unravel that. And then lift the left thigh, bend the left foot, the left ankle joint, press into your hands even more. Shift and lift your hips. Maybe the left toes can touch the ground on the right side. If not, no big deal. And then slowly start to come out of it. And you're going to do a couple more at your own pace. Right? Lift and bend to the right side. Pivoting. I'm pressing into my hands. I might add a little turn of my head if that feels okay. And just seeing how much more movement I can start to create once I've kind of got the hang of it, right? Once my body understands what's happening, you might be able to release a little bit more along the sidelines of your body. Last set. All right. Find your way back onto your belly. Take a moment, rest on your right or left ear. And then I want you to find your way onto your back. Think of the laziest, slothiest way. Maybe you're a little bit more into contemporary dance. But what's a really good feel-good way? You could peel all the way onto your back, removing all the hair from your face. Maybe you're resetting onto your mat once you get there. All right. Find your strap if you have one. I'm going to see what we have next. Perfect. Okay. How are we doing on time? We're doing great. Okay. Reach your left leg long so it's on the ground. Feet are flexed. I know you can't see my feet. You're going to take that strap, if you do have one, onto the heel pocket of your right foot. So as opposed to being close to your toes, I'd rather have it close to your heel. That's going to take some of the strain out of your shin. And I am reaching my foot up towards the ceiling. Notice that I'm not trying to tug it towards my face. I'm just trying to reach it long, and that might mean that I have a little less traction on that band. And I'm gonna see if I can find some release in my arm bones, right? In my neck and my shoulders. So as opposed to saying, oh, this is really, really hard to lift up and out of it. I know that that's kind of an exaggeration, but I think that sometimes we think more about the shape as opposed to the feeling. So might you find this release, and if that means that you're not holding very tightly onto that strap or your leg isn't really close to your face, maybe experience how sensation sometimes allows you to release a little bit more. So my arms are trying to be quite soft, and the back of my neck is too. I'm lengthening my thigh bone back towards my hamstring, and I'm kicking up out of my foot. I'm going to take a big inhale breath and see if I can send it into my belly, and then continue to send that breath into my rib cage from front to back and right to left. I'm going to exhale and just deflate all that breath out. We're just going to do one more. Abdominal thoracic breath. Big breath into the belly from front to back and side to side. Take that breath into the rib cage from front to back and side to side. Exhale, send it out. Okay. Support yourself with that band. You're going to start to take little circles with your foot. Think of like grapefruits. And then think of those grapefruits starting to become bigger, like a spiral. Maybe now it's a watermelon as you continue to spiral. Maybe now it's a big beach ball. So it's nice if you do have something that's a little bit stretchy, because you can allow your arms to hook down onto the ground and there's some feedback. But if not, you're just going to negotiate. And then once you found your biggest circle, right, mine now is, I don't even know what it is. It's just really big. It's maybe the size of a big, like a big rig wheel, right? And then I'm going to start to reverse and see if I can go from big to small. So my biggest circle starts to become a little smaller and a little smaller. I'm spiraling my leg back down to that grapefruit. And my foot is supported, but I'm asking my hip to move. Cool. This feels so good every time. Okay. Bring that leg back up towards this ceiling. Reach through that foot. And then from here, listen to this, because there's a couple interesting things that we're going to experience, and then I'd love to hear your feedback later throughout the week. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is revisit that massaging of your hip socket, the internal and the external. So fan your toes out to the right because your hip is doing it. That's your external rotation. And then fan your toes in towards the midline of the body. That's your internal rotation, right? And then you're going to start to walk your leg down as you find internal and external. So my leg is straight. I'm weaving it out and in as my long leg makes its way down towards the ground. And then I'm starting to walk it back up as I continue to weave in and out of internal and external rotation. And we're just going to do one more of those, right? And if your range is not that big today, if your leg doesn't make it all the way to the ground, or eventually you just don't love this sensation, then you can just reach your leg down and up. But hopefully this also starts to unstick some of the stickiness. Cool. Last thing here. Once your leg makes it back up towards the ceiling, or reach it up towards the ceiling, you might find that here you have a little more leverage. I know mine's a little more open. And then we're revisiting that fascial flossing that we did in a downward facing dog. So it's a really soft micro bend in the knee. That's your exhale breath. And then inhale, use your thigh and your hamstring to push it out. Just a couple. I know your leg is probably getting a little fatigued. See if you can tell your back line of your leg to turn on more as opposed to your shin. Little micro bend, maybe an inch. And then I push on out of it. So can we unstick that whole fascial line that connects from your piriformis, that connects from your sciatic nerve all the way to the sole of your foot? Last one. take the strap into your right hand, reach that leg out towards the side of the room. Take a big inhale breath, send it to your inner thigh. Maybe the leg touches the ground, maybe it doesn't. Feel this sensation of release, right? I'm feeling lots of heat and energy lengthen all the way out through my toes. And then lazily and sloth-like, bring that leg through center, and you're just reaching it across the body halfway. So today I want both of your hips to stay down on the ground, and so I actually like to take my right hand onto my right hip to give myself a little feedback, so that this gets a little more into your piriformis as opposed to being also a twist today. So a little smaller than we've been doing most recently. And I reach through my foot. I feel this whole muscular line of all of my glutes start to stretch. Maybe I send my knife edge of my foot out a little bit more. I could also do this all day. And then slowly bring yourself on out of it. Please switch sides. So strap or whatever you're using, or nothing, right? Comes onto the closest part of the heel as opposed to the toes. I'm going to reach my right leg long onto the ground. I'm hooking it down onto the ground so it's there to support me, right? As like, I don't know why I can't think of words right now, but like you had a boat, right? And then the boat was, you know what I'm trying to say. If you think of it, please comment, because 5 o'clock on Sunday means my brain cannot think of words. But your foot is supported down onto the ground. Okay. Reach your leg up towards the ceiling. Thigh bone lengthens away from the belly, back towards the hamstring. I'm looking for this sensation of release. I'm trying to find softness in my neck muscles and my shoulder muscles. And then I'm going to start to take little circles. Right? It starts with a grapefruit. Or like a spiral, I like to imagine that I'm kind of spiraling, and then that spiral starts to become a little bigger and a little bigger, right? And I might normally ask you to find control in your pelvis, but I want this to kind of be fluid today. So if your pelvis is kind of jiggling and moving around, maybe jiggling isn't the best word, but if it's knocking around a lot, that's okay today. I just want you to notice it. Right? Because sometimes I think we learn a lot from our bodies just by kind of noticing stuff that we've never noticed before. Right? Just kind of saying, it's okay that it moves, but can I notice that it does move? Okay. And then switch directions. Start with your biggest spiral and start to make it smaller. Right? Notice if your hip is clicking in one direction. Any interesting things that are happening in there. Right, you're human. You're human, you move in lots of different directions. You probably are sitting for more than normal, or maybe your workouts at home have shifted your bodies, and so you're tight in different areas that you weren't from becoming really strong, or maybe from not moving, right? There's lots of different reasons why our bodies start to change. Okay, the leg reaches up towards the ceiling, and you're just gonna honor that, right? And then from here, the leg reaches up towards the ceiling. Find that external rotation. Toes fan out to the left. Ooh, that's interesting on this side. And then internal rotation, toes fan in towards the midline. And then you're gonna continue this fanning as the leg reaches down towards the ground, right? I was talking to a couple students in the past few weeks, and that's kind of why this was brought up to my attention, of the fact that they're saying, hey, it's not, Michelle, I'm not moving. I'm actually, doing lots of workouts because I have access to take all these really cool teachers that didn't work with my schedule before. But I'm finding that I just am having a little bit more pain because I'm, working out on my cement or my floor at home that isn't like the fancy squishy studio floor, right? So it doesn't have to be that, hey, I'm not moving and that's why I'm tight. It could just be that the movement that you're doing has changed, or it's just not that supportive. And that's what we're here for, to make it a little more supportive. Okay, that leg should be making its way back up towards the ceiling. And then can you find that low fascial flossing? So bend it just a teeny tiny bit. And then as you straighten it, you reach through your thigh and your hamstring. So, and this is something that we might ask for, and I might ask tomorrow, in a squat. Right, same thing, I'm not asking your joints to move, I'm asking the musculature to lengthen. And then the fascial seams, right, because your fascia is all interconnected with your muscles, starts to lengthen and starts to loosen a little bit too. Cool. Leg straightens, open it out to the left. Take a breath or two and kind of feel the sensation of release of energy. And then cross that leg over your body. Both hips stay down on the ground. Take one more big breath here. Slowly find your way back to center. Please release that strap. Bend both knees. Rock your legs from side to side. And then from here, cross your right leg over your left. You're reaching your arms out into a T. And you're just gonna take a little spinal twist over towards the left. And if it doesn't feel accessible to cross your legs, you can do this without crossing your legs. Take a moment, get really rooted into your hips and your arms. And then today, your right arm, you're gonna take an inhale and sweep your right arm so that it touches the left. So now I'm in kind of lying on my side. And then my next breath is gonna sweep that arm really broad back to my right side. So I'm just sweeping my arm. I'm asking my rib cage, right, my thoracic spine, to get a little bit of movement here. And we'll just do two more. And if your hand doesn't touch the ground, no big deal. All right, last one. Oof. Arm reaches wide, press your palm into the ground, slowly bring your legs back to center, uncross and recross in the other direction, left over right, lower your legs to the left. Oof, enjoy any spinal cracks that come with that. And then your left arm reaches wide to touch the right, and then it reaches up and overhead. Couple more breaths here. We will do a little seated fascial massage, but know that you can do that on your backs too. In a moment, I'm going to come to seated just so I can demonstrate it for you. And for those of you that are using it with balls, you might get those ready, but I'll just demonstrate it with my hands. Oh, last one. Arm reaches wide, press that left palm down into the ground, really lazily lift your legs back up. And then you're more than welcome to stay here. I'm gonna come to seated just so I can show you the last piece of this. And then we'll spend just a couple minutes in a conscious relaxation. Cool. Okay, so seated or on your belly, I'll walk you through it, I promise. So you're gonna find your jaw muscles, and if you have balls, this translates well. So you should be able to kind of feel where your jaw connects to this kind of tender tissue on the side of your face. I swear I can talk, right? But you'll feel it when you move, right? When you move your jaw and when you talk. And then you can either use 2 fingers or your thumbs. So this is kind of be cautious of long nails. I like to use 2 fingers. And then I'm going to kind of press up and in towards my jawline. So if you're lying on your back, you should be able to do that a little easier. If you are facing me, sometimes if you drop your head, you're able to kind of push your hands a little in and a little back into your jaw. And just take a moment here. I'll give you a couple options of things you can do to release that jaw. And the first thing that you could do might just be kind of making these little spirals. So I'm kind of finding that tender muscle as opposed to my cheek, right? I'm just kind of massaging into it. And then you might switch directions as I continue to massage up and press it back towards my ear. You could just kind of press into that tender muscle, and I might just see what happens if I move my jaw. All right, I'm moving it from right to left, moving my jaw forward and back. I'm silly for you guys. And just kind of experience, right? You can play with that a little bit. Okay. And continue to hang out there if you love it. Otherwise, we're going to take our fingertips to our temples. And if you're using balls, balls go there too. And same thing, I'm going to find a little bit of traction. So I'm almost trying to give myself like a lift as I press my temples back towards my hairline. And again, you're looking for that kind of tender area, your xiphoid process. And I'm just making little circles so that there's a little bit of traction with my skin. I can see the skin moving. And if you're using balls, you're kind of just finding this spinning of the ball. And then I'll switch directions. And then find some stillness, and same thing. It kind of sometimes seems like it doesn't make sense, but what happens if you move your jaw here from side to side and forward and back? Take a big inhale breath and let it go. Okay, last one. This one's a little peculiar, and if you're on your backs, maybe just take an eye to me. So you're going to take your fingertips or balls to the side of your nostrils as if you were trying to kind of spread your nostrils wide and kind of pull the skin away from your nostrils. If you're seated, kind of bow your head down so there's this kind of sensation of the weight of your head dragging into your fingertips. And you're trying to see if you can create more space. I'm trying to pull my lips down and away from my nostrils. And I'm just going to take 2 breaths here. Feeling the sensation of release, this opening into the sinuses. And let it go. And then last one, find your third eye, right in between your eyebrows, and just give it a little massage. You can do that, circular motions, or you can take both of your thumbs and press them up to where the eyebrows start and kind of this lifting sensation, and send some of the weight into your skull, into your fingertips. Take 1 big inhale breath and let it go. All right, we're gonna end with just 2 minutes of conscious relaxation, which is very similar to Shavasana. So I'll meet you lying on your backs, if you're not already there, in any sort of orientation that feels okay. I've really been enjoying my knees bent and the soles of my feet on the ground, this Ardha Shavasana, because my hips have been really tight. So this is very supportive for your hips, but know that you can take any orientation that feels okay in your body. And we're just ending with a little bit of breath work. So once you found your shape, I want you to take your fingertips, your thumb and your index finger are gonna press together, and the backs of your hands rest down on the ground. And for just these last few moments, might you see if you can get so quiet that you can hear, you can feel your heartbeat. Feeling it throbbing between your fingertips and throbbing all throughout your body. And then take an inhale when you're ready. See if you can inhale for a count of 8 heartbeats. Inflating completely into those heartbeats. Holding your breath at the top for 4 heartbeats. Seeing if you can exhale for 10 complete heartbeats. And holding your breath at the bottom for 4. We'll continue that breath, but know that if it doesn't feel appropriate to hold your breath, or you're pregnant and a doctor has told you not to hold your breath, you're more than welcome to skip the hold. And if 8 heartbeats seems kind of intense, feel free to make it a little shorter, but I'll start to walk you through just these last few.
Take an inhale for 1 heartbeat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold for 4 heartbeats. 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 10 heartbeats. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4 heartbeats. 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 8 heartbeats. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4 heartbeats. 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 10 heartbeats. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 4 heartbeats. 3, 2, 1. Please take this last set on your own, feeling that sensation of lengthening the exhale longer than the inhale. How that turns on your baroreceptor response, right? That response that tells your nervous system to chill out. Feel this sensation of concentrated energy be released, and that deep connection to your heartbeat connect ever so deeply into your body, and release it all out if you haven't already. Big exhale breath. Let it go. Make your way onto your side. Feel free to stay lying down if you'd like a little bit more time. Otherwise, I'll meet you nice and seated, and we'll end with just 1 closing breath. Take a big inhale breath wherever you're at. Maybe reach your arms up and overhead. Press your palms together. Lower the fingertips down and press your thumbs in towards your sternum. Connect back to your heartbeat, the heat of your skin, the magnificence that it is to be a healthy, living, breathing human being. I thank you for moving and breathing and stretching and taking time for yourself on this Sunday evening. I hope to see you again soon, friends. Thank you so, so much. And feel free to let me know as you do ease out of class how you enjoyed things, what you want to see more of. And we will be doing a reformerless class tomorrow on Monday morning, a little shorty. So get ready for that and let me know if you have any requests. Happy Sunday, friends.